the majority of women live with daily, and it's something that we don't really have words for, do we? It's that mental load.
Yeah.
I kind of see it as the invisible. I'd have to think. I'm already working full time, basically. I've got the kids, I've got the dog to take a walk. I'm doing my gym program, which I'm really, really committed to. I genuinely don't have the space and energy to think about it. What? Because it's very gendered, and I know in this household, I am partly responsible because I still see myself as a single parent, although I have a partner. He's not my kids. So I'm aware that I take on the responsibility. But then when I try and share it, I'm told that so here we are again on another podcast with a good topic today, one that hopefully will resonate with many women. But shall we start with our woeful and wonderful?
Yeah, let's go there. So I'm going to start with my wonderful. My wonderful is that last week I went on a trip to London with my 4-year-old, and it was a lot of work, but it was just incredible to see how much she thrived. Like, she absolutely loved it. It was just something else, and it just made me feel so proud of what a wonderful, bright, really confident, capable young girl she is already at the age of 4. All the C's, like the confident, caring, kind, considerate, like she looked after me, if not more than I looked after her. Like, London isn't the place I feel most comfortable. I'm not good with the underground and crowded places. Like, it makes me feel a bit claustrophobic, and a bit panicky, but almost being down there with her made me feel better than when I do it on my own, having that tunnel vision and focusing on her, and just like constant questions, as she does as a 4-year-old, but just seeing how much she was loving it and taking everything in a stride, and all the learning opportunities that she had. Like, she knew that we had to get ready at the station before the one we were getting off, and she'd asked to look at the map and see what colour train we were getting on, and just all these incredible, wonderful moments. And just, she'd check in with me. She'd be being like, you need to hold my hand, mummy, I can't lose you, you can't lose me. And it was just so amazing to see how well she was navigating and how confident she was. And yeah, it was lovely. We went to go and see a couple of
Great.
shows, which was incredible. But there was also so much around the big highlights of the trip, of seeing the shows and her wonder and everything at those, but also just admiring her as she's now just turned 5. She was 5 on Monday. So that goes into my next bit. But she was 4 when we went, and it's just incredible, to see this young, capable,
Nice
confident young
memories.
lady that she is. Yeah, it was amazing. So tying into what my woeful is, I am feeling really burnt out at the moment. I am knackered. I'm so tired. I had a very busy March with a few different work trips going on, lots of different things happening within my company and my organizations, lots of things happening with my clients, and lots of things happening in my family life and home environment as well. So just lots of things. And we had a bit of a chat before we started recording, but lots of really big things, right, kind of going on for me at the minute, and just really feeling that burnout. I've kind of been in go mode so much that I slowed down a little bit. Week before last, we had some visitors, and a little bit last week. I say slow down, it was busy whilst we were in London, but switched off from work a little bit, and just feeling really burnt out. But it's the knock-on effect, I think, from that I'm really taking the time to notice and check in with my body, and kind of feeling tired and fatigued, but then also noticing that I've got less patience for things, and I'm feeling a bit more intolerable of things as well, and just being a bit short and not how I want to be. But that's kind of my woeful at the minute, and I'm just very conscious of kind of checking in with that as well. So yeah, that, and I guess they're kind of tied together, like it was an amazing trip, and it's added to kind of that feeling of tiredness. I kind of allowed my head a little bit of space from work to notice how kind of tired I'm feeling with all of that as well. But yeah, how about yourself? What's your woeful and wonderful that you're bringing in today?
Um, well, I guess my woeful, I'm just going to talk about it in vague terms because I don't want to go into too much detail, but my woeful is just kind of feelings of not sure what to do with something. I found out stuff from the past that I'd really rather I didn't know.
Mm,
And it's just deciding what to do with that and trying not to be consumed with it. Very much thinking it's in the past. Does it need to come
mhm.
into now? How do I park it there? Yeah, so I've been struggling a little bit with that at the moment, and it's had a bit of a knock-on effect on, I guess, my motivation, my sleep, for sure.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, yeah, but I'll ponder that a little while longer. So that's my woeful.
Okay.
Wonderful. I actually had a different wonderful until you started talking. I was going to talk
Oh.
about how this week is the girls' kind of last days at school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that feels big, like really big. So they're going to be off on study leave, so they'll still be at school, but their last physical days. So I was running about after them trying to take a photo of them this morning. Uh, so I could do the old,
First and
first
last.
day at school, but they wouldn't let me take a photo, so I've got their backs running to the bus. That's what I've got. But I also had, just when you're talking about London, I was down in London a couple of weeks ago. I was supposed to go with my eldest daughter, but she, of course, got her dates mixed up, and
Oh,
she was doing her Duke of Edinburgh. So I went with my friends from here, and we had a great weekend. I forgot how much I loved London. The weather was beautiful. We're quite similar. We like to walk everywhere, so we walked something like 26 miles in the two
oh
days that we were
wow.
there. And we went to see a show, The Book of Mormons, which was
Oh
hilarious.
cool.
Um, Ate loads of nice food. It was just great. It was a really beautiful weekend and unexpected. So that was my wonderful. So lots of
Oh
stuff going on
lovely.
in
Yeah,
Shay's
sounds like,
news.
I was gonna say lots of big things happening in your court as well at the moment. And I kind of
Just
feel that
feels
kind
like
of,
they're,
yeah, and I feel that kind of
well,
woeful of that indecision, or that kind of like not wanting it to consume, but it's consuming somewhat, and all that kind of stuff as well. There's definitely kind of those situations come up, don't they?
yeah, which is, I
Yeah,
guess, leading us nicely into our topic today.
yeah,
Um, so today we were kind of wanting to unpack something that I would say a lot, the majority of women live with daily, and it's something that we don't really have words for, do we? It's that mental load. Um,
yeah,
I kind of see it as the invisible backpack of to-dos and reminders and worries and emotional juggling for yourself and everyone in the household. And it can just feel, I don't know, sometimes it feels kind of crushing. If, for example, I've got stuff on my mind, so I'm finding it hard to retain all of that.
yeah,
And when you try and mention it to partners, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't
yeah.
understand that.
And to
So we're going
add,
to talk about it.
yeah, and to
Sorry.
add to that, it's and to add, you said there about like that crushing kind of sense, and to add to the list of what you kind of described it as, I'd say it's the weight of expectation as well, that we
From
are the
ourselves as
ones
well as
from
everyone else.
ourselves, as well as kind of society, partners, family, whatever, or from your own kids, in a sense, with for the example that I've got to bring to the table today. But it's that weight of expectation that you should know these things. And should is a heavy word, right? We talk about that a lot with our clients, of should being quite a heavy word. But I think with the mental load, it is like all these things that someone needs to know. And often it's us as women that take on the responsibility of knowing everything and carrying all of the things, and like you
Mhm.
said, the reminders of events and the hitting the expectations for different things. And I think we perhaps have talked about mental load in other episodes. We've definitely talked about it in conversation. I'm sure it's kind
For
of come up
sure.
in other episodes, because I think there's different mental loads, and this is kind of going into the example that I wanted to talk about. But there's different mental loads that come with different events that happen, isn't there? You know, and I feel like there's a lot that kind of falls on the woman in the relationship or in the kind of family dynamic, whatever the family dynamic kind of looks like. And like you said, a lot of that we hold ourselves to as well. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add before I go into the example of where I've really felt this in the last week or so.
No, I think it'd be good to get an example, but also kind of thinking about where it's coming from, what keeps it going, um, and how we can just open up more dialogue round about it and awareness.
Yeah,
Because
for sure. So
it is a thing.
it's really weighed on me in the last week or so. Obviously, it was my choice to go to London with my little one. It was a part her birthday present, part my birthday present. So her birthday was Monday, just gone. My birthday is next Tuesday, and April is just a very birthday heavy month. Throw in Easter the day before my daughter's birthday as well. And my goodness me, has the mental load been unreal. So kind of organizing, packing for going on the London trip, you know, obviously looking after my 4-year-old, because that definitely is my responsibility in that sense, you know, but then coming back and then diving straight into preparing for family visits and Easter and Easter egg hunts, and then birthday decorations and presents. And I kind of set a rule with my husband now that for Christmas and birthdays, he has to buy at least one thing that's from him, because
Okay.
typically again, kind of coming into the mental load, it'll be me that goes and buys everything that's needed for presents for whether it's our own children or family or things like that. So there's a few kind of like boundaries I've set with that, in that he buys things for his family and is the person that leads with that. Granted, again, I did buy the Easter eggs for his side of the family. But typically it's him that would buy those presents for his family members. And I have kind of set it as for our own children that he buys at least one thing that's from him, sorry. And yet, yeah, so then there's still lots of things, and then I've had to kind of but even I feel like that's part of the mental load as well, of like having to give instruction. So I said to him that,
Well, that's what adds to it, isn't it? That is
right,
what, to
because I
me,
said to him, I
that's
was
what
like,
mental
you
load
need
is.
to, like, can you wrap the presents? This is where they are. So I'd bought them, I'd stored them away. I then gave, I didn't have to perhaps, but I did give the instruction for him to wrap them, you know. And so it's those things, it's those nuances that are. And then like I said, it was then on the Sunday I was preparing a family meal. Monday was like getting the house, well, Sunday evening I was getting the house ready for her to come down for birthday presents and things in the morning. Then everyone was kind of looking to me to decide what we were doing for the day, and all of these things that, you know, it's almost like you said, we need to open up the conversation, because it's almost just an expectation
Well,
that
why is it gendered, do
we're
you think?
filling the
Why,
gaps,
just
right?
what? Because it's very gendered, and I know in this household, I am partly responsible because I still see myself as a single parent, although I have a partner. He's not my kids, so I'm aware that I take on the responsibility. But then when I try and share it, I'm told that I'm a, what's the word? A martyr, because I can just ask for help. I can just ask.
Yeah,
But
just
that's the
ask if you
thing.
need it. But it's like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and I had quite a frank conversation with my husband the other day, because there was 3 adults in the house and I was the one doing everything. And I was like, I shouldn't need to dish out
Why does that
instruction.
happen? Why does it happen? That's the thing.
Mm,
Like I can't see a way of switching off from it. If we want things done, I can't see. Maybe that, that's
yeah.
not a helpful thing to say, but
Yeah.
How did you
And I
change it?
think it's different as well for different families and for different family dynamics, because like I said, I was cooking for, and it was mostly my family on the Sunday, but then like my auntie arrived, my brother arrived, my sister-in-law's brother arrived, and you know, like, as people arrived, they stepped into the kitchen to say hello, and then they started doing dishes, or they started, and it was just like a very different. Yeah, my auntie was the first one to do that, and like I was almost tearful when she just, because I'd said to her, I was like, oh no, it's fine, I'll do it. So perhaps that's part of the problem, is that we're like, oh, like, you know, we take that responsibility, and she still did it anyway. She still started doing the dishes anyway, and I was like nearly
Mm-hmm.
tearful to be kind of like, I didn't know that's what I needed, was like someone to step in rather than kind of allowing me to just get on with it, to actually kind of like take some of that away from me, take some of the load off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, because I've definitely felt it in the last week or so. Um, and do find it difficult to ask for help. But then get
Well, I
frustrated
do.
when I do
I
ask for
find
help
it
and it's
really
not there
difficult.
as well.
I find, because I would give help freely. We had this conversation on Saturday. I was invited to friends here for dinner. It was brilliant. She's an amazing cook, and she always invites us round, you know. And I've never invited people from the village to my house for various reasons. One of the reasons being that we've had renovations
I
going
was
on,
going to
but
say,
the
you had
other reason,
renovations going for years, haven't you?
we haven't had a kitchen for a while, but the other reason was, and this is what we were talking about on the way back, because my other friend who was there said, "Oh, I don't invite people around because my husband would just sit there and have a glass of wine and filmed." And I was like, "I'm so glad you said that." One of the reasons I wouldn't do it, I'd have to think. I'm already working full time,
Mm-hmm.
basically. I've got the kids, I've got the dog to take a walk. I'm doing my gym program, which I'm really, really committed to. I genuinely don't have the space and energy to think about it. And I know it would just be a really unpleasant and overwhelming experience, as much as I'd love to have friends over for dinner, because I can cook. I now have a beautiful kitchen to cook in, but I just don't have
Yeah.
the capacity
And this is what I've
to.
always said. Like my husband, when we moved to this house, because it's bigger than my old house, he was like, "Oh, we'll be able to host Christmas, and we'll be able to host this." And I'm like, if someone else is willing to do it, I'd much rather go elsewhere than have like all of the things around that's needed. And you're like having a clean house before people come, and then hosting,
Mhm.
and you know, like doing all of that when people are there, and then also the tidy up after. It's just like, it feels like so much. And yeah, so that was like Sunday, and then Monday was a birthday, and we went out, and then Tuesday she went back to school, and then she was having a party with her friends after school. And that was like, I'd got up Monday morning, I got up Tuesday morning, the dishes weren't done, there was washing around, and I was like, someone else needs to do something here. So, because, and this is where I kind of noticed, I mentioned in my woeful there, of that kind of like my less patience, my tolerance was a lot
Well, it's where
lower. And
resentment builds, doesn't it? And that's what we don't
yeah,
speak about, because we become resentful and we don't want to make a scene, because then we sound,
well, then we
I don't
get
know, I
called a
feel.
martyr, we get, you know, like
Mhm.
we get those kind of um I, and I guess it gets interpreted by us of like not being good enough, but then people like being annoyed at us that we've got annoyed, and it's just, it gets messy, doesn't it? Like with the, like you said, with that resentment coming in as well.
But I guess, and the other thing is that sort of internalized guilt, that I know for me, it's like I should be able to have people for dinner, I should be able to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So I'm quite pleased, actually. I felt quite pleased that I've consciously decided that I just don't have capacity for it at the moment, because that's a really
Yeah.
good thing for me to recognize. Otherwise, I'd be going down this, the stuff that we generally don't speak about, that we can become resentful, we feel taken for granted, and the sort of feelings that come with that. But um yeah, it's a tricky one. Like,
And yeah,
what
and
do we
I've kind
think
of,
are the things that people
I've,
don't speak about with this?
yeah, and I've kind of noticed that kind of like I've set the bar a bit high for my for my daughter now, and like, you know, she expects this. But one of the things I've kind of put my foot down with is that it's my birthday next week, so I'm not doing anything. You know, I am fully like passing the buck. And I've actually booked the time to take myself away for the day and kind of fully disconnect and things. But one of the things I saying there, kind of like, what can we learn from this, or what can we do differently, or what is it that we need to kind of be open with about this? And I said to myself, like actually out loud to myself, that I need to take time off around my children's birthdays, like after the event, because I want to put the effort in. And this is something that I noticed. I was like, why have I done this to myself? Like, why have I put so much pressure on myself? And it does tie into my values, that this is really important to me. I want them to have these lovely experiences and like the excitement and the joy and all of those kind of things. I want them to have all of that, and that's really important to me, that they have those memories. So it's not that I don't want to do these things, it's that I need to acknowledge that I'm going to be tired afterwards, and that there may be more things from that I need to delegate out, and kind of set those boundaries for myself, that I don't have to carry all of the mental load, and what I can choose to carry out of that and not, and how that's linked to values as well, and what's important to me. And I need to look after myself whilst doing it. Like if I want to do it all, then I still need to look after myself. And you said there about like checking in with what your capacity says and being okay with that, and accepting that. I think that's what I've learned from the past week or so.
Well, I guess the consequences of us not doing that is stress, burnout, and fatigue and exhaustion, and all the stuff that
Yeah.
then will really take us away from our values. Are we moving in at this point to talking about open, aware,
It
engaged?
feels like it, doesn't it? We've kind of naturally got there today. So yeah, there's definitely like that openness, like I said, like kind of to what I need in the future when it comes to, and I've been, like I said at the beginning, like mental load, I think is very different mental loads for different events or different periods of time or different plates that we spin, right? And one thing that I'm very open to is, next time I've got an event such as one of my kids' birthdays or something like that, that I need to get my system set up around that. Yeah, and being open to how it's felt this time, and that awareness. I guess they're kind of really, really linked, aren't they? But that awareness of how tired, how frustrated, like resentment that you kind of mentioned there, how that's kind of cropped up, and that tolerance and things like that. So I'm kind of like being aware of those and open to doing it differently next time. And I think my engagement piece from I'm going to take from that is actually booking in my leave now, following like my husband's birthday and things like that. So kind of making sure that I'm protecting that time around the things that I want to put all of my effort in, that do feel important to me. But I need to engage with them slightly differently, I think, going forward. So I'm not feeling the weight quite so much. But how about
That
you? Like I
sounds
know
like
it's been
a good call to action. You're taking something away. You're actually going to do something there
definitely. I
in
need
relation to
to.
this.
I need to. How about yourself? What are you kind of feeling open, aware, and engaged about?
Well, it's interesting because I'm noticing as I'm having this conversation about mental load and kind of running things around in my head, but I've had this feeling in
No,
my
don't.
throat, like that sort of anxiety lump that appears. So I noticed that. But I guess I'm open to, yeah, just about trying to keep on top of myself and notice when I'm doing this stuff, because I think I create a lot of it. In acceptance and commitment therapy, we talk about creative hopelessness. And I think there's stuff I do that keeps this going.
Yeah.
And I guess with open, aware, engaged, I'm thinking it's a good opportunity to practice, because my kids are going to be at home for the next until they go away to uni in September. And I cannot be working full time, cooking 3 meals a day, preparing the shopping list, blah, 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 and doing all the cleaning and the renovations and everything else. So something needs to change. I need to take action.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm, yeah, prioritizing myself and all of that.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you've got two other fairly well-formed grown young ladies in the
Well,
house as well.
three adults in the house. There's four
Mm-hmm.
adults in my house
Yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah,
and a
yeah,
dog.
yeah. Yeah,
Doesn't need to all be on me.
no, definitely not. So what's your engagement from that? What's your committed
I'm
action?
going to plan out how I'm going to manage the next few months. And I'm going to, maybe one thing I might do is we'll all be responsible one day a week at least for cooking a meal.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. And I need to revisit a task list. We used to use a task list at home, like in my
Oh,
previous
okay.
house. I might revisit that because I'm not going to have a resentful summer where I'm feeling all of this stuff.
Yeah, there's an app you can get. I don't know the name of it, but there's an app out there that you can get where it's like shared with the family, and you can assign different tasks and
Oh,
stuff.
that
Or
sounds
people can
good.
like ask, or like people can like request this, like nab the Bagsy the tasks or whatever it's called, you know.
There's a book as well, I think, How to Split Chores or something. I
Oh,
remember
I don't
someone
know.
recommending that to me a while ago.
Just a
But yeah,
little
I'm gonna
side
have.
note. Yeah, just a little side note as well. With my daughter like now turning 5, we're getting a little chore chart for her because she wants to get pocket money. She wants to spend money on stuff that I'm not interested in spending money on. But we're looking at getting something like that set up for her so she can have little jobs to do and stuff. But I don't know if that's going to
Yeah,
be checking in with the mental load. I don't know if that's going to then model that she
mhm.
needs to carry.
I was going to
How
say
much we're
that. Then
passing
it
on, isn't it, to our
became
daughters?
because I still feel I'm kind of doing that. I kind of the chore list just becomes something else that's then on the
Yeah.
because then you need to keep up how are you going to reward them? And to me, I remember it just being, I thought, oh, this is just another thing that's added to this thing that I'm already
Yeah, that you're having to
struggling with.
monitor. Yeah.
But
And
I
I
think
wonder
I'm
how
going to
much of
put it
that
out
is
to,
say, I wonder how much of that is us then like passing on the baton almost that our daughters have to carry a mental load, It's interesting.
Mhm. I think I'm also going to put it out to my partner and my kids. Like, what do they assume when I'm the only one in the house working
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that I will do? Like, where does that, like, I need to maybe unpack that a little bit with them.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Oh, I feel like this we could talk about this for a long time because it definitely kind of comes into so many different avenues of life, doesn't it? And I'm sure we'll cycle back round to it when something else comes up, for sure. But it is an interesting one to ponder,
There
and I
was
think,
I remember a while back, maybe another call to action would be, I remember there was a post about this because I remember speaking to you about it. This was a long time ago. And a guy responded. It was a post about mental load. And he responded on my LinkedIn and he asked if he could be a guest on our podcast.
oh, we'll have to scooch back through the
I will do.
timeline and
That's another
find that.
action point I will take from that.
Excellent. Oh well, we'll
That's a
we'll
task I'll
find who
take
that
on.
was and get them on because it'd be good to have a guest again. It's been a while since we had a guest on the podcast. So, oh
Mm.
Helen, I feel like this has been a really good conversation. I think it's good to kind of use each other as a soundboard for this, and we would really like to hear from the listeners of what their perspectives of mental load are and techniques and things that or difficulties they've had with the mental load and things as well. So
And this is something that I would hope that really would be when we're talking about our workshop that's coming up, that, mental load, I'm so assuming it's going to come up. I don't know in
oh, for
what form,
sure.
but it would be great to hear all the different perspectives and the different ways that we talk to ourselves about it and the kind of learning histories. And I
Yeah.
would love to have a discussion with people about that.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Oh, well, thank you, Helen. And
You're
we
welcome.
will chat again very, very soon.
Cool. Thanks, Natalie.
See you soon. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.